I was standing at the edge of the dance floor, watching my mom cry tears of joy as she pinned a veil into my sister Emily's hair. The venue was glowing. White roses, crystal chandeliers, a five-tier cake with gold leaf, and a live string quartet. Mom looked like she was living her dream. She even gave a toast, thanking everyone who helped make Emily's big day perfect. That night alone cost nearly $9,000. A week later, my own birthday came. I didn't expect a party. I didn't expect a gift. But I thought maybe a call? Nothing. No text. No voicemail. No happy birthday on Facebook. It wasn't the first time. It was the third year in a row. 3 years. Forgotten. Like I didn't exist. And that's when it hit me. My mother didn't forget. She just didn't care enough to remember. Pause. Have you ever been the invisible one in your own family? Comment where you're watching from if you've ever felt like the background character in someone else's life. Growing up in suburban Ohio, I used to believe I had the kind of family people envied. My mom, Karen, was a PTA superstar, always baking cookies for the school fundraisers, always with perfectly styled hair and a calendar so color-coded it looked like an art project. My dad, Brian, was quieter. He worked long hours as a logistics manager and didn't talk much, but when he did, it mattered. He was the one who taught me how to change a tire, grill a burger just right, and always check the oil in my car before a long drive. Then there was Emily, my younger sister. Blonde, bubbly, born for the spotlight. She was the kind of kid who won Best Smile in kindergarten and somehow kept winning everyone over after that. I was 2 years older, quieter, and if I'm being honest, I was okay with that. I liked reading more than cheerleading. I wasn't the life of the party, but I was the one making playlists for it. Our childhood was filled with those little picture-perfect moments. Christmas mornings in matching pajamas. Birthday parties in our backyard with plastic flamingos and homemade lemonade. Sleepovers where Emily and I would make blanket forts and pretend we were on a cooking show. I didn't realize until much later that my mom was writing a very specific story in her head, one where Emily was the star and I was support cast. At first, it was subtle. Emily would get the bigger slice of cake because she's still growing. If I cried after a rough day at school, Mom would say, "You're stronger than this." But if Emily had a bad day, suddenly, the world stopped. Mom would run her a bubble bath and make hot cocoa with little marshmallows. I remember one school play. I was cast as the narrator. Not flashy, but a big role. I spent weeks memorizing lines. I invited everyone. The night of the show, my mom showed up halfway through, flustered, apologizing, holding a bouquet for Emily. Emily wasn't even in the play. She had just finished her cheer competition, and Mom thought that deserved the flowers more. I smiled anyway, told myself it was just a mistake. That became a pattern. Me, rationalizing, making excuses, telling myself it was fine because I didn't need the spotlight. But something shifted when we hit our teenage years. Emily started getting noticed by boys, teachers, even our neighbors. She had this magnetic charm, and I felt like wallpaper. I remember asking Mom once, "Do you think I'm pretty?" She paused and then said, "You have a nice smile." But Emily's always had that natural glow, you know? I laughed it off, but I still remember how it landed in my chest. I wasn't jealous, not exactly. I just felt invisible. Still, I tried. I got good grades, got into a great college, paid for half of it through scholarships and part-time jobs. I called home every Sunday. Emily? Not so much. She'd go weeks without checking in, but when she did call, Mom would light up. "Oh, Emily's voice is just sunshine," she'd say. I could hear it in her tone, like she'd been waiting all week just for that one call. When Emily dropped out of college for a year to figure things out, Mom turned it into a redemption story. She's just finding herself. I'm proud of her for listening to her heart. When I got promoted at work, "That's great, honey. You've always been so dependable." Dependable, like a dishwasher or a tax accountant. I started noticing the emotional economy in our house. Emily was celebrated. I was counted on. I started pulling back without realizing it. I stopped sharing things with Mom. I stopped expecting anything on my birthday. I started setting quiet, invisible boundaries to protect myself. But deep down, some part of me still hoped she'd see me, that she'd remember, that she'd try. And that hope, that flicker, was exactly what kept me coming back year after year, like maybe this time she'll get it right. Maybe this time she'll treat me like I matter too. The year Emily got engaged, everything changed. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe that was just the year I finally stopped pretending. I was 28, working full-time in marketing, living in Chicago. I had just moved into my first solo apartment, and I was proud of it. It wasn't huge, but it was mine. Emily was 26, still living with mom and dad in Ohio. She'd had a string of boyfriends over the years, but when she met Trevor, well, my mom practically adopted him before the first date ended. He has such nice manners, she gushed. And a full-time job. This one's a keeper. From that moment on, it was like the wedding plans began before the proposal even happened. One afternoon, I got a group text from Mom. Big news coming. Don't say anything yet. I called her, curious. Emily's getting engaged, she whispered like it was the nation's biggest secret. We're thinking spring wedding. Maybe Charleston or a vineyard in California. Something classy. Something special. I waited for the question. What do you think? Would you be able to help? Instead, she said, you should start saving up for the bridesmaid dress. It might be a little pricey, but we'll find something flattering for you. Something flattering for me. I wasn't even surprised. Just tired. That tiredness turned to quiet resentment over the next few months. I'd get photos from wedding dress fittings. Emily looks like a movie star. I'd hear long voicemails from Mom. Trevor's parents are contributing $5,000, and we've decided we'll put in $8,300 ourselves. It's going to be stunning. I blinked. Wait. $8,300? The same mom who once told me she couldn't help me out with car repairs? The same mom who mailed me a $15 Amazon gift card for Christmas the year I got laid off. That $8,300 wasn't just money. It was a statement. A declaration of who mattered. I tried to swallow it. Tried to be the good daughter. When Emily FaceTimed me to show off her ring, I smiled and said all the right things. It's beautiful. I'm so happy for you. I meant it. I wasn't bitter about her joy. I was bitter about my absence in it. 2 weeks later, Mom called me. Honey, you'll be Emily's maid of honor. I froze. Are you sure? I asked. Wouldn't she rather ask Madison? They're so close. Don't be silly. You're her sister. That's what family does. But when I told Emily the next day, she laughed. Oh my God, no. Mom just assumed that. I already asked Madison. I thought you'd be cool with that. You're not really the planning type. Not really the planning type. I'd been organizing marketing campaigns with six-figure budgets. But sure, I couldn't handle centerpieces and bridesmaid games. I didn't argue. I told her it was fine. I said, I'm just honored to be part of your big day. But inside, I was shrinking. Again. Every call, every update, every decision revolved around her. Mom would say things like, we just want this to be magical for Emily. It's her one big day. Everything needs to be perfect. It's such a stressful time for her. Can you check in on her more? And when I mentioned my promotion at work, my third one in 2 years, Mom replied, oh, honey, that's great. Emily's been feeling really overwhelmed with the guest list. Maybe you can help her with that to take something off her plate. I became a footnote. Even during family dinners. I drove 4 hours home for Mom's birthday that year. Brought flowers. Paid for the restaurant. And the entire meal, the only topic of conversation was the wedding. Emily tried on a new dress. Talk about it for 20 minutes. Trevor's mother wanted lilies instead of roses. Group debate. I sat there, chewing, swallowing, smiling, like a background extra in my own life. Then came the guest list. Mom called me in a panic. We're at 142 guests. We need to trim. Can you cut your +1? Mom, I've been dating Matt for over a year. I know, honey. But Trevor's second cousin is bringing his girlfriend, and we don't want her to feel left out. Trevor's second cousin's girlfriend got priority over my partner. That was the first time I hung up on her. And that was the first time she sent me a follow-up text that simply said, "Don't be dramatic. This day isn't about you." And maybe that was the most honest thing she ever said.
Because it never was about me.
Not the birthdays. Not the milestones. Not even basic respect. I started to see the pattern everywhere. Childhood. High school. Holidays. Emily cried. She was coddled. I cried. I was told I was too sensitive. Emily failed a class. She's just under pressure. I got a B. What happened to your work ethic? I began journaling, documenting it all. A private little archive of being forgotten. And the more I wrote, the angrier I became. Not because I wanted to take anything from Emily, but because for once, just once, I wanted someone to see that I was there too. The day before Emily's wedding, I arrived in Ohio with Matt. Despite everything, I still showed up. I still packed a dusty rose bridesmaid dress and curled my hair and smiled for group photos. Matt helped me carry our bags into my childhood home. Mom met us at the door. She gave me a side hug, then turned to Matt. "Oh, I didn't think you were still coming," she said, eyes flicking to the living room already filled with Trevor's family. We cleared a guest room for Emily's maid of honor and her cousin. "You two might have to get a hotel." I swallowed. "Sure," I said. "We'll figure it out." On the drive to the hotel, Matt looked at me and asked gently, "Why do you let her treat you like this?" I didn't have an answer. That night, as I lay in the unfamiliar hotel bed, I remembered something. My birthday was in 4 days. It would mark the third in a row, that no one in my family acknowledged it. Not a text, not a post, not a card, but here I was, spending hundreds of dollars to celebrate a wedding I wasn't even in. The morning of the wedding, everything was chaos. People were rushing. Hair straighteners, bobby pins, makeup bags. It felt like a reality TV show. I wasn't in the bridal suite. I wasn't even in the photos. I sat in a folding chair in the hallway outside the venue's bathroom, waiting for instructions. Eventually, a planner walked by and asked if I was one of the vendors. I just nodded. "Yeah," I said. "I guess I am." The ceremony was stunning. Emily looked beautiful. Trevor cried. Mom gave a speech that brought people to tears. She called Emily our miracle baby and thanked her for teaching us all how to love. She didn't mention me once. During dinner, I got up and went to the restroom. I locked the stall and sat there, fully dressed up, makeup perfect, staring at the chipped tile wall. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I felt hollow. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to an old group photo of our family from a 4th of July barbecue when I was 15. Emily was in the center. I was cut off at the edge. Always at the edge. That night, Matt and I skipped the after party. We got takeout and watched reruns in the hotel. He let me talk. Or not talk. He just listened. The next day, everyone was recovering from the reception. Mom was bustling around the kitchen, heating up leftovers, gushing about how perfect it all was. I helped clean. I loaded the dishwasher while Mom was on the phone with Trevor's mom. "We're just so lucky to have Emily," she said. "She's always been the heart of this family." I dried my hands and walked into the living room. "Hey, Mom," I said. "Do you know what next Wednesday is?" She blinked.
"What?"
"Next Wednesday," I repeated. "Any idea what's happening?" She laughed. "Oh, honey, don't quiz me. My brain is fried from wedding madness." I nodded slowly. "It's my birthday." Silence. Then,
"Oh."
Just, "Oh." "Well, you're an adult now," she said quickly. "Birthdays aren't such a big deal anymore. But we'll celebrate next time you're home." I stared at her. "You've said that 2 years in a row." She busied herself by stacking papers. "I didn't mean to forget." "You didn't forget, Mom. You just didn't think it mattered." She looked up. "Why are you making this about you?" And that was it. That was the moment. The final click in the lock of a lifetime of being unseen. I picked up my bag. "We're heading back to the hotel," I said.
"But there's dessert," she said.
Emily brought leftover cake. "Tell Emily congratulations," I said. And thank you for showing me exactly where I stand. I walked out. Matt followed. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. Not because of my birthday, but because I finally accepted that my mom was never going to choose me. Not in the way she chose Emily. Not in the way I had hoped. And somehow, that truth hurt more than the forgetting ever did. I didn't call my mom for 2 weeks after the wedding. No texts. No updates. Not even a thank you for the $200 gift card I'd slipped into Emily's wedding envelope. I waited. On my birthday, nothing came. No card. No message. Not even a generic Facebook HBD. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, a slice of chocolate cake in front of me. Matt had to work late. I lit a single candle. And I made a wish. I wished to stop waiting for something that was never going to come. The next morning, I opened my notes app and started writing. Not journaling. Not venting. A letter. To my mom. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I didn't write to guilt her. I wrote to free myself. Dear Mom. This isn't an angry letter. But it is an honest one. I want you to understand what it feels like to be the daughter who's always waiting. Waiting for you to ask how I'm doing. Waiting for a birthday call that never comes. Waiting for acknowledgement that I've spent my entire life making myself small so Emily could shine. I went on. You taught me to be strong, but I think what you really meant was quiet. You taught me to be independent, but you only admired it when it meant you didn't have to worry about me. You said you loved us equally, but your actions never matched your words. When I was done, it was 5 full pages. I printed it, folded it, and mailed it. I didn't call to warn her. I didn't include a return address. I just mailed it. A week passed. Then 2. Finally, on a random Thursday, I got a text. Got your letter. I didn't know you felt that way. Need time to process. That was it. No apology. No denial. Just a 1-sentence acknowledgement. And I realized I didn't need anything more. The following weekend, I was home in Chicago when I got a group text from Mom. Family brunch this Sunday. Emily and Trevor will be in town. Come if you can. I stared at the screen for a long time. This was her olive branch. Not a conversation. Not accountability. A waffle buffet. Matt looked at me. You going? No, I said. But I will send her something. I went in my closet. Pulled out the last photo we had taken together from 5 years ago at Thanksgiving. I wrote a note on the back. This is the last time I pretended everything was fine. I'm not pretending anymore. I mailed it in an envelope with one of those tiny glitter bombs inside. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. A few days later, she called. I didn't answer. Then came the voicemails. I just wanted to talk. Why are you doing this? Emily's worried too. I texted back. I'm not doing anything to you. I'm doing something for me. The next call, I answered. Her voice was shaky. Why now? Why after all these years? I took a deep breath. Because you forgot my birthday. For 3 years in a row. That's what this is about, she snapped. No, I said. That's just the easiest thing to point to. This is about everything. The dismissals. The way you've made me feel like I had to earn space in my own family. She went quiet. Then I didn't know you saw it that way. I lived it that way. I could hear her breathing. She wanted to cry. She wanted to say the right thing. But she didn't. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. I'm not cutting you off, I said. But I'm stepping back. I need space. I need boundaries. And I need you to understand that this isn't up for debate. So what now? She asked. Now, I said, you learn what it feels like to be on the outside. That was the last real conversation we had for 6 months. In that time, I didn't go home. I didn't attend family dinners. I didn't send birthday gifts. I poured all that energy into myself. I joined a writing group. I finally booked a solo trip to Maine, something I'd always wanted to do, but never felt allowed to. I lit candles for my birthday. I wrote myself a letter. I baked a cake. I celebrated me. And not once did I feel selfish. I felt free. And when Emily reached out, tentatively, awkwardly, I responded. Not cold, but clear. I love you, but I'm not your shadow anymore. And just like that, the dynamic started to shift. Not because they changed, but because I did. At first, the silence was louder than anything. No birthday calls, no guilt trip texts, no passive-aggressive family group chats. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that used to scare me. But now it felt like space. Like I could finally breathe. My apartment, for the first time, felt like mine. I bought fresh flowers every Sunday. I started waking up early, just to sit by the window with coffee and no noise. I wasn't expecting healing to feel like loneliness at first. Because it did. Especially when holidays came. That Thanksgiving, I didn't get an invitation. I saw the photos on Facebook. Mom, Dad, Emily, Trevor. Matching sweaters.
Turkey.
Candles. The caption said, "Grateful for family." And I wasn't tagged. It stung more than I wanted it to. I cried that night. Ugly, exhausted crying. The kind where you cry for your past, your younger self, for all the birthdays she waited for someone to remember. But the next morning, I woke up lighter. Because the grief was honest. And I was finally letting myself feel it. It wasn't just about being excluded from a dinner. It was about realizing that I'd been excluded from connection for most of my life. Even when I was there physically, emotionally I'd been sitting at the edge of every room.
I started therapy not long after.
My therapist, Claire, asked me something in one of our early sessions. If your mother had treated you the way you treat yourself, how would your life look different? I didn't even have words. I just started crying again. Because the truth was, I'd inherited more than my mom's silence. I'd inherited her standards. I kept pushing myself to be perfect because that was the only way I ever got crumbs of praise. I started to grieve not just the mother I had, but the mother I needed and never got. That grief was deep. It came in waves. Flashbacks would hit me while grocery shopping, like the time I came home with a third-place spelling bee ribbon and she said, "Well, maybe next year you'll actually win." Or how she only ever came to my band concerts when Emily was also performing as a cheerleader at halftime. Or how she once told me, "It's a good thing you're smart, because looks won't get you far." Death by 1,000 cuts. Some people say grief is like losing someone. But in my case, it was like realizing I never really had them. My dad didn't say much through all of this. He called once, left a voicemail. "I don't want to get in the middle, but your mom's been really upset. Just letting you know we're thinking of you." I didn't respond, because thinking of me wasn't the same as seeing me. Meanwhile, friends noticed something had shifted. My best friend, Jade, said, "You seem softer, but stronger." I told her what happened. All of it. She held my hand and said, "You deserved better. And I'm so proud of you for finally giving that to yourself." Some cousins reached out, too. One of them, Lauren, messaged me privately. "I always noticed how your mom favored Emily. I didn't know how to bring it up. I'm sorry." That small message meant more than I can explain. Just to be seen.
Just to be told. Yeah.
That wasn't fair. The truth is, I lost something big when I stood up for myself. I lost the illusion that my family was ever emotionally safe. But I gained something bigger.
Clarity.
I stopped chasing scraps. I stopped twisting myself into shapes that made other people comfortable. And I stopped trying to earn love by being the easy one. I was no longer interested in being palatable. I wanted to be real, even if that meant being alone for a while. Healing didn't look the way I thought it would. There wasn't one big moment where I woke up and everything felt fixed. It came in pieces. Small ones. Like the first time I bought myself a birthday cake. I went to a little bakery near my apartment, the same one I used to pass on the way to work, but never stopped at. I picked out a vanilla bean cake with raspberry filling and had them write, "Happy birthday, Rachel. You matter." It was cheesy. It made me laugh. And then I cried in my car for 20 minutes before driving home with it. But it was mine. And no one forgot it that year. Because I remembered myself. I started therapy weekly, and with Claire's help, I began unpacking the stories I'd been carrying since childhood. Stories that told me I had to earn love, stay quiet, never outshine my sister, always be available, and never complain. And slowly, I started rewriting those stories. I signed up for pottery classes, something I'd wanted to try since college. I found community in the most unexpected places. A woman named Sylvia from the class invited me out to coffee. We talked for 3 hours. She had a similar story: the forgotten sibling, the golden child, the slow detachment. We laughed about the absurdity of it. And the pain. She became my chosen family. So did my neighbor, Karen, a single mom with a teenage daughter who always brought over extra soup when she cooked. And Jade, my best friend, started a Sunday night dinner tradition at her place. Every week. No exceptions. She said, "You never have to spend another birthday alone again. Or Sunday night. Or Wednesday afternoon if you don't want to." For the first time, I started to believe her. Even my cousin Lauren, the one who messaged me privately, came to visit. We sat on my balcony with wine and takeout and talked about our families. She told me something I'll never forget. "You didn't walk away from love, Rachel. You walked toward it." That sentence stayed with me. I stopped measuring healing by how together I looked. I started measuring it by how honest I was willing to be. When someone asked, "Do you still talk to your mom?" I said, "Not right now." And when they asked why, I didn't flinch. I realized I was chasing something that never existed. Sometimes people got uncomfortable. Sometimes they nodded. But always, I felt lighter. I got better at saying no. No to invitations that made me anxious. No to calls that left me spiraling. No to guilt that wasn't mine to carry. And I started saying yes to things that felt like me. Yes to bad karaoke nights. Yes to solo movie dates. Yes to rest. I even got a dog, a rescue, named Luna. She was shy at first, but she followed me everywhere. And every morning when I woke up, she was curled by my feet, like she was guarding me from the past. One day, while walking Luna in the park, a little girl ran up and asked if she could pet her. I smiled and said, "Of course." Her mom came over and struck up a conversation. Her name was Becca, a single mom new to the area, working 2 jobs. We kept talking. One thing led to another, and I invited them over for dinner. That became a new pattern, bringing people into my life who were kind, consistent, and didn't make me beg for their attention. I also joined a local volunteer group that ran after-school programs for girls. One of the girls, Samira, reminded me so much of myself at 12. Awkward, brilliant, too quiet, too observant. She drew me a picture once. It was me with a cape. Miss Rachel, the hero. I kept it on my fridge. Every time I looked at it, I thought, this is what healing looks like. Not perfection. Not the absence of pain. But choosing to build something beautiful from the ashes. I started writing again, too. Jade encouraged me to publish a blog post about my story. I was hesitant. Vulnerability, like, that is terrifying. But I did. And the response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from strangers. People who'd felt invisible in their families, people who'd been passed over for the favorite, people who were still learning to grieve the parents they never really had. One woman wrote, "Thank you. I thought I was crazy. But your story made me feel seen." I printed that out and pinned it next to Samira's drawing. My walls weren't just decorated with pictures anymore. They were reminders of who I was becoming. One Sunday, sitting with Jade after dinner, I looked at her and said, "You know what the weirdest part is?"
"What?" she asked.
"I still love them. My mom. My dad. Even Emily. It's not a switch I can turn off." Jade nodded. "Of course you do. But now you love yourself too." And that made all the difference. I stopped needing them to apologize. I stopped needing them to change. Because I had already changed. The door wasn't shut. But it also wasn't wide open anymore. And if they ever did knock, really knock, I'd answer. But this time on my terms. Because I'm no longer the girl who sits quietly in the background, hoping someone remembers her. I am the woman who remembers herself. Every year. Every day. Every moment. If you've made it this far, thank you.
Truly.
Because telling the story, sharing something that still makes my voice shake and my chest tighten, it wasn't easy. But I did it because I know I'm not the only one. I know there's someone out there who's spent years shrinking themselves so someone else could shine. Someone who's learned to celebrate their birthday alone because it hurt less than hoping someone might remember. Someone who's told themselves over and over, "It's okay. I don't need much. I shouldn't expect anything. I'm fine." I'm here to tell you, you are not crazy. You are not too sensitive. You are not selfish. You are not the problem. You are just asking for what everyone deserves.
To be seen.
To be loved. To be remembered. And if that never came from the people you hoped it would, it doesn't mean you're unworthy. It means they weren't capable. And that is their limitation, not your value. I spent 3 birthdays waiting for a text that never came. I told myself I must have done something wrong. I looked at photos of my sister's wedding, the one where my mom spent $8,300 on centerpieces and table runners and imported peonies, and tried to understand how that same woman could forget the day her other daughter was born. And for a long time, I believed it was my fault. That if I'd just been more helpful, more patient, more invisible, maybe then she would have seen me. But now I know better. I know that no amount of self-erasure will make the wrong people love you the right way. So if you're watching this and nodding, maybe even crying, please know this. You're not alone. There are thousands, millions of us who've walked away from toxic families, not because we hate them, but because we finally chose to love ourselves more. It's a grief that doesn't get a funeral. A pain that doesn't get casseroles or condolences. But it's real. And it matters. And you matter. If you've ever been the forgotten child, the backup plan, the one who made things easier for everyone else while quietly crumbling inside, I see you. And I made this video for you. Because sometimes we just need to hear someone say, "I get it. I've been there. And you're not crazy." So, if this resonated with you in any way, I'd love to hear your story in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your version of being forgotten, or more powerfully, your version of choosing yourself. Let's make this space more than a comment section. Let's make it a gathering place. For everyone who's ever been told they were too much, not enough, or not a priority. For the ones who bought their own birthday cakes and took their own graduation photos. For the ones who became their own parents, their own cheerleaders, their own safe place. This is for you. This is for us. And if no one has said it to you today, let me be the first. Happy birthday. I'm glad you're here. I'm proud of you. And I love the person you're becoming. Before you go, if you felt even 1 ounce of connection to this story, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone else who might need it. We're building something here, a space for truth, healing, and radical self-love. And I'd be honored if you'd be a part of it. Until next time, take care of your heart. And don't forget, family isn't just who shares your blood. It's who shows up when it matters. And sometimes that person is you.